What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about the updates overseas with Israel, um, Gaza, Iran, things that are going on over there in that area since our last update, and yeah, trying to get caught up. So, thank you very much if you like this content and consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. It helps out the channel, help us to grow and get conversation going so we can have clear talk, man. Anyways, all right. So, um, the Middle East over there is still, still hot, still going. Uh, Still a lot of moving pieces, trying to be figured out. Uh, Not a whole lot as far as from like what we previously have talked about has really changed. Uh, you still have, as far as Gaza and Israel, let's just start with there. Israel, has still been continuing their um, operations and stuff in Gaza. They're still, dropping, the bombs here and there, attacking places. They're doing, operations. Uh, I think still in Khan Yunis and even some in Rafah. I think again. Um, the one thing that we have uh, going on currently uh, in that's kind of catastrophic and has created this um, humanitarian need at the moment is a polio outbreak that has happened within the Gaza Strip, and it's majorly um, majorly affecting children. Of course, the 40 47% of the population is children. Um, so right now, it's like 640,000 kids or something. I think that's estimated to be affected, um, or potentially affected. Because it's spreading. I'm not necessarily that all of those kids have it yet, but it is apparently becoming very rapid, spreading throughout the population. Um, and so it has created this um, need for trying to do something to try to control it. From Israeli perspective, is probably even to some degree to try to make sure that it's controlled, so that their people that are there won't contract it. Um, but or to any kind of degree, I would assume. I don't know. But anyways, the uh, so what they've done, they've decided to do, from my understanding, three uh, short temporary ceasefires over 3 days. Three the specific days. Uh, I'm assuming like a ceasefire period within those 3 days, like three different ones on 3 different days, or three ones on 3 different days, like one per day. That's what I'm assuming. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's, well, that doesn't make sense. Probably one ceasefire period per day for 3 days to allow for people to get in and provide polio vaccinations to these children. Um, the ceasefires are actually specifically to the regions that the vaccines will be implemented. Um, Israel has said that they will continue bombing and doing operations in areas where the vaccines will not be. So they're only like temporary and localized ceasefires, um, just to allow for these vaccines to be brought in and given to the children. Um, so uh, that is good. Not uh, just because for that's needed. Um, and But there are, of course, operational issues with that. I mean, the vaccines for one have to be kept cooled, temperatures controlled. So that's a task that will be hard to keep. Um, and then also just the logistics of actually trying to get in, get set up, the children getting there, like all that all the logistics of that is going to be a task. So that's supposed to happen. I'm not exactly sure when, or maybe it has already started, but it's supposed to happen. Um, So that's one thing. But what we have outside of the Gaza issue is we have had a very rapid um, increase in aggression in the West Bank now. I think there's gone 3 days now of raids and stuff in the West Bank, particularly around Jenin camp. And they have done, this is like the largest like aggression raid militant like uh, 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 soldiers, tanks, uh, air support from then that they have done in like since early 2000s. Like this is the largest operation that they've done in the West Bank and since for a long time. I'm not sure at this point what the body count is. I know the first day it happened, there were at least 10 Palestinians killed. Apparently, there was reported, assuming last night, that um, they're reporting that a high-level Hamas leader was killed. Um, uh, Reports of that. Um, there was video showed that has been released for that. That I can. Uh, Maybe I didn't keep that up. Maybe, hold on. Let me find it back. I thought I kept it up on a tab, but I guess I didn't. I don't know if this article has the actual video. It's got a picture. Doesn't appear. So it was there's some overhead footage. Um, all right. This is by CBS News. They've got some footage here overhead.
Israel is pressing forward with its expanded
I apologize. I haven't swapped it over yet.
operations in the occupied West Bank for a third consecutive day now. The IDF says it killed a senior Hamas commander and several militants during a strike in Jenin. According to officials, the target was responsible for multiple attacks on Israeli citizens. CBS News foreign correspondent has been tracking all of this, and he joins us now from East Jerusalem. Imtiaz, we know that Israel says that a Hamas commander was killed as part of these raids in the West Bank, but it doesn't appear to be helping the overall picture to get a ceasefire and hostage release deal done. So what are we learning about what's just happened?
Yeah, hey there, Errol. Look, the situation in the Israeli-occupied West Bank is really going from bad to worse. As you rightly point out, Israel has announced the killing of who they described as a senior Hamas commander, a man by the name of, and I have it here, Wasim Khazem. You may actually be looking at some footage right now released by the Israeli police, which appears to show a car that he was traveling in being shot at, and two men fleeing from that car on foot, with the Israeli military saying that they killed them in an airstrike. And this, you have to remember, is in the West Bank, not in Gaza. The West Bank really since the October 7th.
That's wild. That's wild, dropping an airstrike like that on one person. That's crazy. Me.
Attacks has seen violence increase there extraordinarily, not only from Israeli forces who have been raiding Palestinian towns and villages, but also from what's being...
There's a video that I saw where this is like a cam within this vehicle here, where once he stops here, it's just like all out shots ringing out, and they're just like obliterating this car with I don't know how many guns were going off, and it's just you see like green lasers across the windshield, and it's just obliterating this car even after these two individuals get out. So I don't know if potentially there was more than just the two in the car. I'm guessing maybe, but they just I'm talking about hundreds of bullets shot into this car. I'm just crazy. To kill a commander. It was
being described as extremist Jewish settlers who have also been attacking these villages and refugee camps. Now, the Israeli military has said that this operation, which is one of the largest operations it's carried out in the West Bank in decades, will continue. Errol.
And Imtiaz, we know that Israel agreed to temporary pauses in fighting over in Gaza. So this is separate from the West Bank. And that pause is to allow polio vaccines to be distributed to kids across the territory who are desperately in need of those vaccines and other things. Do we know about how frequent these pauses may be and how the effort is unfolding to get kids the treatment they need?
Yeah, an extraordinarily important issue here. So what we understand is that Israel has agreed to 3 separate 3-day pauses in which around 640 children in Gaza will be vaccinated with the polio vaccine. Now, there are some caveats here. Israel has said that it will continue to bomb areas if it chooses to during these vaccination campaigns in areas where those vaccinations are not happening. And Israel has also said that this is not the beginning of any kind of ceasefire that it has been negotiating with Hamas for many months now, U.S.-led negotiations. But as you can imagine, for the people of Gaza, the fact that they're getting any kind of pause is certainly something that they welcome. And of course, the fact that it is meant to vaccinate children who are vulnerable to polio is extraordinarily needed. Still, health workers are saying that this is perhaps one of the most complicated mass vaccination programs they will ever conduct, frankly. The idea of vaccinating 640,000 people, or children rather, in Gaza, in areas which are just devastated. In fact, many...
Yeah, I think he misspoke earlier when he just said 640. I think he meant to say 640,000, then he corrected it here, or just maybe he didn't even realize he didn't say 1,000 a minute ago, but he said it here.
Groups describing Gaza so damaged it's as if 2 atomic bombs have been dropped on it. So the idea of getting these vaccinations, which need cold storage, which is also going to be a challenge, is going to be a monumental task.
But yeah, that's here we go. Oh, sorry. Obliterating this car. continue shooting for even a second effort. That's wild. That is absolutely wild. And like this is, I'm assuming the aftermath of this car. So I'm assuming they either shot it till it caught on fire or they caught it on fire after. I don't have a clue. But the car now looks completely burnt up. I don't know if it even says it. This report is saying 20 Palestinians have been killed since the start of the Israeli operation, which is one of the biggest in 2 decades. They, of course, are saying 20 terrorists have been killed in exchange fire and 17 suspects detained. Precious target regional 3 terror hubs. So yeah, this is, this of course is going on in the West Bank. Jenin is up here. This is the main area that they've like completely shut this area off. All entrances and exits have been closed up, and they've been doing raids and full control of this area. I know. I'm assuming some of these are also having operations going on in, maybe, perhaps. But yeah, so this is the West Bank. If you do not know or understand, this is Gaza. This is where, them blown to smithereens, damn near it. And this is the West Bank. And realize that there are as many people living here as there is here, as far as Palestinians are concerned. Now this is supposed to be all Palestinian land, but it's not now. It has been, a lot of it has been settled by extreme Zionist settlers that have pushed people off their lands. That's the reason why there's camps and stuff in these areas for people like that have been, refugee camps. Just basically being kicked off their land. They're living in these camps. So, and a lot of this area has been broke up into several small sections, some of which are controlled by the PA, Palestinian Authority. Some is controlled by Israel. Some it's kind of a mixed control or whatever. It's like, but a lot of the area, especially all up through here, a lot of the area has been taken over by settlers, illegal settlements, creating havoc and pushing Palestinians off their land, taking their lands, putting settlements in, and living there, in the hundreds of thousands. And that's been going on for a while now. And it's accelerated somewhat even since October 7th, along with a lot of raids, and there's been a lot of people, killed even in the West Bank. A lot of Palestinians, a couple hundred Palestinians have been killed within the West Bank since October 7th. So, but that's, yeah, there's operations going on right now. It's been 3 days worth of, because of threats, people that have built up, frustrations over everything going in Gaza. You have pent up, frustrations, and plus, Palestinians. I mean, because there are some some groups, especially within the Jenin camp. That's the reason why it's the most intensely attacked camp. That are like resistance groups, that have kind of formed within that camp because of all the stuff. They are somewhat supportive of Hamas, and or at least have sympathies for Hamas. And although they are not technically Hamas, there is no technical Hamas in West Bank. Uh, but apparently, you have some leadership finding their way in and out, possibly for, I don't know, recruitment maybe, or maybe they're trying to just, I don't know why, or so the supposed Hamas leader. I'm assuming that is credible, and it actually is who they say it was. Um, what reasons they were there, uh, not sure. But nevertheless, uh, that's been going on in the West Bank. So there's been an uptick in the West Bank going on. Um, you also hear uh, today or yesterday or whatever, IDF is claiming that they have seized a Hamas document from that was showing the terrorist group inflating support rates. So there was like this internal document, like whenever Hamas was reporting support for themselves, basically what they're saying is that this document proves that they were inflating those results when they would do polls or surveys uh, within their populace, for like basically like a questionnaire for support, that they were taking the actual results and then changing them to reflect more what they wanted it to reflect. That's what this report says or shows. Now you can take it, you know, I take anything that IDF says with a grain of salt, and don't completely give them credit for anything that they say. But I'm going to make an argument as to for something going on the basis that this is actually true. So the Israeli Defense Forces released Hamas document on Thursday that shows Hamas has secretly falsified its levels of public support in polls conducted by the Ramallah-based Palestinian Center of Policy and Survey Research, this PCPSR. The idea said the documents did not prove that they were cooperating with Hamas, but rather that the terror group was conducting clandestine actions to fraudulently influence the result of the polls. This group, which was based in the West Bank city of Ramallah, is run by Palestinian pollster Khalil Shakaki, or whatever. I don't know. Sorry if I said that wrong. In the Gaza Strip, the firm uses Gazan data collectors to conduct surveys. Okay, so they're doing a survey or not. Here's we have this is like the Iranian or Arab whatever version. They do have an English translated version. But yes, this was done apparently in March, so this is fairly dated. For one, what results currently could be, I'm not sure, but as of March, one document under, so it's like it has like this database list. I'll show you, where it has like these questions, but potential like multiple choice answers, actual results, corrected results. So this is what the actual results were from the testing, and then what Hamas corrected to what they wanted it to show, which was apparently this was released then to Al Jazeera and a couple of other Arab media um, sources and stuff to then release to or whatever. So it shows here in your opinion, the Hamas decision to attack Israel on October 7th correct? Actual 30% correct. 64% incorrect, no opinion. Here shows is corrected as 71% correct, 23 incorrect. So it's almost a complete flip flop where they, supposedly corrected, and this is what was released, and this is the actual results. And you'll see this. There's an interesting trend. It's assuming this is actually correct, and legit. And I'm gonna bring an interesting point to that. After several months of the current war, who do you estimate will govern the Gaza Strip? The IDF, 11.5, Hamas, 36, Palestinian Authority, led by Abbas, who is the current um, uh, president or head of the Palestinian Authority. 18.2, the Palestinian Authority without Hamas, 22. One Arab state or multiple Arab states, 4.7, very low, actual results there. The UN, others, blah, blah. Corrected, IDF, 1%. So, like, no, they don't want to, corrected is Hamas, 52%, which, I mean, here, Hamas was clearly the lead, but not by the margin that they're trying to reflect here. 52%, 19, 21, and so forth. So, even though these results relatively go in the same flow almost, but Hamas was clearly, according to this, Hamas would be clearly trying to state that they were the more favored in that. If it were up to you, whom would you prefer to see governing the Gaza Strip after the end of the war from the following list? Who do you prefer seeing governing the Strip? IDF, 5.9, Hamas, 32%, Palestinian Authority led by Abbas, 18, without Abbas, 29. So clearly, people don't like Abbas, and that's I think this has been fairly clear for a while now. One state or multiple Arab states, 5%, so on. Okay, corrected results. They're showing a massive uptick for Hamas, 52%. And then these relatively the boss, they dropped without a boss to 21. So even here, you can see that it's relatively almost half and half of whether Palestinian Authority or Hamas. But here, on the corrected, they're greatly favoring in releasing that it was Hamas is favored or preferred. So there clearly is a little bit more split here, but what do you think is the best way to achieve Palestinian goal, the end of the occupation and establishment of an independent state? What do you think is the best way to achieve the Palestinian goals, which is the end of the occupation and establishing an independent state? Political negotiations, 49.8%. Okay, 49.8%. Nonviolent popular resistance, 20. Armed activity, 28, and then no opinion. Corrected, 23% political negotiations, 27 resistance, 39 armed. So you see, they're clearly trying to say that the people want us to do the armed conflict. The least is the negotiations. They even upticked resistance, nonviolent resistance, higher than it was. But here, clearly, political negotiation was the actual result. How would you rate your satisfaction for the performance of the Palestinian authorities? Are you satisfied or not? These particular ones. Hamas, actual 31.9. Yuyas Sinwar, which is the new since Hanini was assassinated. Sinwar is now the current leader of Hamas. Was directed as the current leader of Hamas. Sinwar, 21.1%. Fatah, 30%, or Abbas at 21%. Actual results, what they reported was 62. So here is kind of somewhat equal. I mean, Hamas and Fatah, which are kind of opposing authorities, resistance authorities, um, kind of equal. And then, of course, Sinwar and Abbas being the leadership for those opposing factions, 22 and 21. So there's the very slightest uh, satisfaction in Hamas over. I mean, it's not even. You almost can say they're equal. But here they're giving a clear. They're clearly trying to show that Hamas is the most satisfactory. What do you? Who do you think will win this war? Hamas 30, Israel 51, neither of them 49. No opinion. Corrected, complete flip flop. Hamas 56, Israel 18, neither of them 17. So once again, Hamas changing it to make it look like, according to this document. And this continues on for even the remaining. If new presidential elections are held in the Palestinian Authority, and Abbas runs as a candidate for Fatah and Hanini runs as a candidate for Hamas, who will you vote for? If new elections are held, who would you vote for? Now, of course, Hanini, this is back in March, so Hanini, which I find interesting that Hanini was included in this question, but for these questions, Sinwar was included. That is a little bit of a red flag for me. Well, in this particular one here, anyways. I guess you could say they may have included him in this just because he was the militant leader, like in Gaza. But Hanini was the high leader over all of Hamas. Like he was the leader over the political wing, which was the major leader. Sinwar was just over the militant side that was actually in Gaza. I guess maybe you can argue that that's the reason why he's put in this one because he's, that would be the performance, I guess, side with Hamas. But it is a little odd. Anyways, so Abbas 25%, 28%, Hanini 21%. I will not participate in elections, 52%. Have no opinions barely there. Corrected, 22 for Abbas, Hanini 48, which remembers Hamas. Participation 23. Clearly trying to show Hamas lead. If new elections were held today with the agreement of all political forces in the same list that participated in the parliamentary elections on January 6, 2006, January 25th, 2006, or participating now, who would you vote for? So basically asking if new elections were held today with the agreement of all political forces and the same list that participated in 06 was being used today. I guess they're trying to, see whether or not people, what the vote would be today versus 2006, although they don't have the results here from 2006. Well, outside the fact that we know Hamas was won in Gaza anyways. Again, with the help of Netanyahu. The change and reform list, 18.7. The Fatah movement, 25.7, which is what's Palestinian Authority. I haven't decided yet, 13. Will not participate in elections, 31. And third party, 10. So the change and reform list, I'm assuming, was Hamas. I'm assuming. Or whatever. Here they're trying to say 30%. Fatah's dropped to 14. Not decided, relatively the same. But participation, they actually brought it up a little bit, which is kind of odd. It doesn't really make sense that they would say here they dropped it significantly here, outside of the fact that they were trying to clearly make an India look the popular one there. Which of the following factions and parties do you support? Fatah, 32%, Hamas, 25%, I don't know, and a third party, 40%. Basically, and the majority of them want neither one of these. They want somebody new. Here, corrected, 25, 34 being the high for Hamas, 22, 19. So you can see, according to this document, that IDF claims is legitimate, and this is results from a survey giving to people in Gaza, and I'm assuming the West Bank. I'm not sure if this is results of solely Gaza. I'm thinking it is, but it could be all of them together. But this is stating, that they were clearly trying to make Hamas look like well, I guess this is strictly coming out of Gaza. This is what Hamas was trying to report was out of Gaza. So if that's the case, though, when you look at the actual results, if you're saying this is legitimate, then when you look at the actual results, you see that the people don't support Hamas. Overall, the majority of the people don't support Hamas. Matter of fact, they don't necessarily even support the Palestinian Authority either. They would rather have somebody else. A lot of them wouldn't even consider participating in an election that only included those. And so, doing indiscriminate bombing in the Gaza Strip and having such a hardcore opinion of all Palestinians in the Gaza Strip as all being Hamas clearly is wrong. Clearly, the innocent people in Gaza don't agree with Hamas. A good portion of them. Of course, that's in March, I don't know how that would reflect if you took it today. I'm not completely sure. It may have shifted. It may be the same. It may have actually gotten worse. But they certainly believed that Israel was going to win. Because, the force that Israel has, luckily, at this point, they haven't just, went stupid hog wild on them, but it's pretty bad. Genocidal, easily. War crimes, easily. Killing 40,000 plus people. Indiscriminate bombing. Being okay with just killing random people, not caring whether or not they're Hamas or not, because they're all Hamas. Clearly, that's wrong. And so now that this has been released, I say, well, then you should admit that you're wrong about the Palestinian people in Gaza and about faith on your operations there. Reconsider the ceasefire. Reconsider how you're approaching actually taking out Hamas and not killing innocent people. Is that going to happen? Or are you just going to continue acting like barbarians and just continuing to kill innocent people without caring? That's my big question. Since this is being released by IDF, what's going, what reaction is this now going to cause for Israel? Are they going to reflect on what they've done? Realize that maybe they're wrong? Because that's what the results look to me like, the actual results. Not the fake ones that were released. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Also, so we have continued. We've been worried about what Iran was going to do, right? Whether they were going to, we've been waiting on whether or not they were going to attack Israel after, the assassination. I said assassination attempt earlier. It was an actual assassination. Assassination on Hanini and in Tehran. But Iran has come out since saying, that they would not retaliate as long as there was a ceasefire agreement, agreed on. But so far, a ceasefire agreement has not been agreed on. Hamas did not agree to it because of some changes that were made by Israel and U.S. in the agreement. Um, so, but Iran still has not made an attack, even though Israel has since also done more aggressive attacks in Lebanon. There was a couple of hot days where Israel and Lebanon went back and forth with some pretty intense firing. I think at this point those tensions have cooled a little bit. But so I talked about how Iran seemed to be trying to act like the adults in the room. And with this shows me even more so. They are still trying to continue to look like the adults in the room. I mean, the whole idea, especially like the resistance from the U.S. side perspective from Iran, was that the issue between us has been the whole them enriching uranium again since we got out of the agreement, and when Trump ripped it all up and we got out of the agreement, nuclear agreement, they've been enriching uranium again. Now at this point, they're only about at 60%. For actual weapons, like nuclear weapons, they'd have to be at 90 at least. So they are not enriching to the point that they, for weaponization. And this is from the agreement. I think the agreement was supposed to be for them to stay around like 25, I think, roughly, something like right there. About half of what they're doing now. In that agreement, they were agreeing to it. They were, we were having people go in and doing audits. And I think they did like 12 different audits over the 5 or 6 years or so of the agreement, and they were keeping to it and, doing what the agreement asked. And then Trump just ripped it up for no reason. Just said, nope, this isn't good enough. We're not going to abide by it anymore. We don't care for it. And so Iran was like, okay, fine. We'll go back to enriching then. You have a new leader now, though, in Iran, since the last one was killed in the plane crash or whatever. So, from Iran's perspective, they're thinking, okay, the only issue U.S. has with us really is the enriching of uranium. So how about we negotiate again? Let's get back into this nuclear negotiations. Maybe we can ease tensions with the U.S., which Biden should have already done, and he hasn't. That's one big failure of his. And and maybe because of that, U.S. will then force. That's what I'm thinking. Iran's thinking. The U.S. will force Israel to chill the hell out. Like it'll give them incentive to say, okay, Israel, look, we got this talk going. They're going. We got this, negotiation going. We've come up with this deal. They're going to stop enriching. So chill out. You know, they're not going to be a threat or anytime soon or whatever. As long as they stay under this. So you have no reason to beef with them, right? That's what I'm thinking Iran said. So, say we have a report here. Iran's supreme leader opens the door to negotiation with the U.S. over Tehran's nuclear agreement, our nuclear program. In Dubai, United Arab Emirates, UAE, Iran's supreme leader opened the door Tuesday to renewed negotiations with the United States over the country's rapidly advanced nuclear program, telling its civilian government there was no harm in engaging with its enemy. Khamenei's remarks. I think this is the supreme leader. I believe this is the new president. Remarks set clear red lines for any talks taking place under the government of reformist President Pezeshkian or whatever, and renewed his warnings that Washington wasn't to be trusted. So the supreme leader, I believe, is saying that he shouldn't be trusted. They shouldn't be trusted, but I think the president is trying to open up those doors. But his comments mirror those around the time of Iran's 2015 nuclear deal with the world powers, which saw Tehran's nuclear program greatly curtailed in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. Yet it remains unclear just how much room Zelensky will have to maneuver, particularly as tensions remain high in the Middle East over the war. So like I said, you've got this heat going on. You've got all this stuff that people are expecting you to retaliate with an attack, but instead you go, you know what? How about we get to the negotiation table and we talk this nuclear thing out, and we'll get back under a deal, and everything will be cool. We don't want to fight. We don't want to war. We don't want nuclear things going. Let's just chill out. That's what this guy's doing. What? That's such a curveball thing. So this is the crazy people that are such a dangerous group of people. Now, don't get me wrong. I agree that they have some horrific domestic laws and there's some old timey kind of rules and laws and societal things that could be better, but on the international stage and being a threat on the international stage, this doesn't seem like this does not mean that we cannot interact with some enemy in certain situations. According to the transcript, there is no harm in that, but do not place your hopes in them. Khamenei, which is the supreme ruler, who is the final say in all state matters, also warned Pezeshkian's cabinet, do not trust the enemy. Has occasionally urged talks for or dismiss them with Washington after President Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew from the United States from the deal in 2018. So the deal was only actually 4 years. There have been indirect talks between Iran and U.S. in recent years, mitigated by Oman and Qatar. Two of the United States Middle East interlocutors. A weird word. When it comes to Iran, and also, well, Qatar is also for the Hamas and everything else. The United States Department told the Associated Press, "We will judge Iran's leadership by their actions, not their words." Check this out. We have long said that we ultimately view diplomacy as the best way to achieve an effective, sustainable solution with regards to Iran's nuclear program. However, we are far away from anything like that right now, given Iran's escalations across the board, including its nuclear escalations and its failure to cooperate. If Iran wants to demonstrate seriousness or a new approach, they should stop nuclear escalations and start meaningfully cooperating with the IAEA, which is the audit group that they were sending in. Iran was abiding by the agreement. Trump ripped it up. What did you think was going to happen after that? You thought Trump was going to rip it up and they were just going to be like, oh, well, we'll continue to abide by it, though. We don't really need an agreement. We'll just do it. No. That's not helping. That's not happening. So, I mean, did you really think they were going to cooperate or allow them in anymore when we just blatantly ripped up the agreement and pretended like it, never happened? And go back to sanctioning them? Like, of course not. But yet we're going to turn around and say, well, you need to act like you're still underneath those agreements before we'll get back to the table and actually make an agreement. What a narcissistic way of looking at this. We should be getting back in this agreement just full stop. Right? I mean, like this should have already happened. Since the deal's collapse, Iran has abandoned all limits that the deal put on its program and enriched uranium up to 60% purity, near weapons grade levels of 90%. So still got a ways to go. I mean, it's taken them 6 years to get to 60%. I don't know. Surveillance cameras installed by the IAEA have been disrupted while Iran has barred some of the Vienna-based agency's most experienced inspectors. Iran's officials also have increasingly threatened that they could pursue atomic weapons. Meanwhile, tensions between Iran and Israel have hit a new high. During the war in the Gaza Strip, Tehran's launched an unprecedented drone and missile attack on Israel in April. After years of shadow war between the two countries, well, of course, we've got the attack to the two generals, the assassination in Tehran. The former lawmaker who won the presidency after a May helicopter crash campaign, in part on a promise to re-engage the West with negotiations. So that was his whole thing, and he won. To bring about a little bit more peace. He was a little bit more center kind of candidate than the far right that they previously had. Khamenei's remarks as Iran's paramount leader could provide him with the political cover to do so. Pezeshkian's new former minister Abbas is deeply involved in negotiations in the 2015 deal. After doing everything we can, a tactical retreat might sometimes be necessary, but we should not abandon our goals or opinions at the first sign of difficulty. Khamenei said Tuesday, the second time in recent days he's referred to a tactical retreat amid the tensions. However, it is not just Iran that's facing a new presidency. The U.S. this whole, of course, blah blah blah. Harris in a speech, I will never hesitate to take whatever actions is necessary to defend our forces and our interests against Iran and Iran-backed territories. That was her kind of hard line in there. The RAND network, a risk intelligence firm, said that if Harris wins, the likelihood of a deal will rise as the Israel Hamas war winds down. Our negotiations begin. Once the negotiations begin, Iran will likely demand more protections regarding a potential U.S. withdrawal from a new deal after the United States walks away from the previous deal in 08 and 18. Because of the concerns about the stability of our New Deal, Iran is also less likely to offer as many nuclear concessions, like the dismantling of more advanced centrifuges, since Iran would want to be able to spin up its nuclear program as fast as possible in the event the U.S. exits the New Deal again. Um, so, you know, this, so, uh, yeah. So, yeah, they want to get back into negotiations. We're being a little hardlined on it, apparently, in rhetoric, acting like they were the ones that ripped it up. But I really hope that they actually do get into it. I hope they negotiate down. Granted, as they said, because of and rightly so, because we ripped it up, they should be. We should be conceding a little bit. Um, in negotiations to not being so hard lined. But I pretty much guarantee you, the United States is going to try to be even more hard lined than they were before, and that could ruin it. Honestly, but at this point, we really needed to make sure we really need to get back in it, no matter what. We need to find a way to get back into an agreement. It's basically like an international ceasefire. We're cool. We won't do this if you won't do that. That's what it was. And Iran was agreeing to it. Iran was doing what they were supposed to do. And here, after all the bullying and everything that Israel has been doing and antagonizing, poking the bear, poking, they're still willing to, as they do, tactical retreat and try to get negotiations going. Also, Iran is announced saying that the Houthi allies are going to pause attacks from the oil tanker. So the other day, the Houthis in Yemen, they've been doing attacks on ships and stuff, trying to prevent supplies and stuff from getting to Israel and whatnot, trying to hold, make a big issue. They've attacked, I think, up a little around 30 or so, a little over 30 ships. The other day, they attacked an oil tanker, and it is on fire. It's leaking oil, a big problem. And so Iran is saying that the Houthi allies are going to pause attacks so that this oil tanker can be rescued. So Iran said, "Whoa, okay, you done a little too much here. This was more than you should have done. We want you to chill out. We're going to let them clear out." Now they did say that that this was not going to stop their campaign. They said that they would still potentially make attacks on other ships. After this is cleaned up, but they're going to do a short pause. So they're agreeing to do a short pause to allow this to clean up. And then they'll go back to it. So they're going to run it when they need to. They're putting their foot down and controlling. I'm pretty sure they're even doing it on Hezbollah to keep tensions down. So they are still doing being the adults in the room, in my opinion. And in all of this, what we really need them to do, they're doing I mean, they're being like the parents that are having to deal with a pain in the ass little child of somebody else's, you know, uh, kid, tormenting them. And, while they're sitting back going, probably gritting their teeth and, oh, well, if I could just, run the, looking at Israel. But they're not. They're going, look, and going to the parent like, look, okay, yes, your kids piss me off, but let's get an understanding here. Okay. We don't always get along, and we know that. But I need I need your kid off my damn back, right? And we need to, let's come to an agreement, okay? All right. Look, I won't be throwing and starting any shit over on my side of the fence if you just keep your kid over there in his little playpen. Keep him in his playpen. Don't let him in my fence. Just keep him over there. Because if he comes over here one more, it's I'm really really frustrated with all of it. It's like child's play. It's like petty grown ass kids playing around with everybody's safety. Being petty about stupid shit. And I'm talking about Israel and the U.S. And Iran is acting like the mature ones here. And that is honestly ridiculous. That's ridiculous. How have we let Iran look like the good guys? I mean, so yeah, that's what's been going on over there. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. As continue. We really need to stop Israel. We need to get them under control. IDF says that this document shows that or at least in March, the support for Hamas was not really as high as they were saying. Why are we fucking with them? Or I mean, the innocent people, anyways. We should be doing like strategic, covert, on the ground, specific type of operations that protect the innocent as much as possible. And even then, you still probably aren't going to be able to get everybody. But you sure as hell not going to get them this way either. And you sure as hell not going to get the hostages out this way. Matter of fact, you are killing more hostages than you're actually going to be able to get out because of your actions. And while you have encampments, we know doing all kinds of brutal, beating and sexual, stuff to Palestinians in these encampments that Israel has, holding Palestinians hostages, and the support for it within government and even in the population. I mean, there was a report I think that come out the other day where they had done a survey of the population of Israel, like a poll um of their approval of IDF soldiers doing these acts in these camps, you know, sexual torment and everything else. And it was a majority percentage that actually thought it was okay and it should be allowed from the citizens. That's crazy. One of the IDF soldiers that was claimed to be doing these acts to Palestinian prisoners and whatnot has been released and has damn near become like a celebrity. He's being put on these game shows and shit, and is damn near turned into a celebrity now. What the hell? We're talking about a civilization that has been so brainwashed, and by their leadership, by Netanyahu and Gallant and all these crazy ass leaders that they have. They're gone, man. I feel like they're gone, and I hate to say that, but it's just like, what? This, you actually think this is okay? I don't know. This has been a very long video. Uh, way longer than I planned. Way longer than I ever would plan. But it was a lot of information to go over, and a lot to talk about. So again, if you like this kind of content, let me know what you think. Leave comment and everything. Please consider subscribing. And let me know what you think. Do you think because of the IDF findings, there's going to be any change in how they address Gaza? Do you think because of those findings, the U.S. might even force them to change? Do you think this, uh, account of Iran wanting to come to the table for negotiations on the nuclear side of things with the U.S., is that going to, is there going to come of that? Will that help the situation? And help bring some sort of ceasefire to all this, and calm everything. I certainly hope. I hope that all of that happens. I hope that we get into an agreement. I hope that it causes us to force a ceasefire and calm all the tensions, and everybody just go back, chill out. We start working on what to do next with Gaza and the West Bank. Hopefully finding some way to them, getting some sort of authority and their own, governance. That helps them to prosper and to, have some, international trust. That's what I hope for. Anyways, thank you for joining me, and until next time, it's been ClearTalk. This has been a long ass video. I'm sorry. If you've stuck with me this long, you are the effing bomb. Seriously, you're best. You're awesome. Love you. Anyways, next. Peace.